All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with my friend Rocky. Rocky, welcome. So awesome to have you today.
Thank you, Kevin, so much for having me on today. Excited for our chat.
Yeah, same. And you and I recently got, I should say, not connected, but reconnected. Because remind me, where we did we originally meet through Dan Kennedy like years ago? Was it GKSC or Dan Kennedy somehow?
It wasn't Dan. It was the ghostwriter, my buddy Paul.
Oh, that's right. It was Paul Edwards. Yes, who, Paul, he lives right here in my local area. He's probably about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours away from me or so. And we've got together on a couple of occasions. And Paul is just a great guy. And then you and I also got reconnected through Giuseppe and stuff. Giuseppe Grammatico we got reconnected there as well. So we kind of got it. It was almost like Rocky, like this was like meant to be. So, which just another testament to the power of relationships. Which that's what we're all about. That's what we're all about talking about here today, and on this whole podcast, for that matter. And so, what I'd like to do is just kind of start off by turning it over to you to let you share a little bit about what you do, who you serve, what inspires you to do what you do. And we'll just start by setting a little bit of context there.
Cool. So I'm a small business owner, and I work with all other small business owners to solve a problem that I never knew existed. I assume that most people who owned a business understood the business of the business, and that they were looking at their P&L statements and their balance sheets and understood the finances in their business. And that was how they were making decisions. Mm-hmm. What I came to learn was that most business owners were doing what they loved, and accounting was at the bottom of their list. Mm-hmm. The problem is, though, you're in business. If you don't understand the business finances, everything else is going to struggle. And that's just something that was a natural gift to me. I've been playing with spreadsheets for 40-something years. I've been reading tax code because I hate paying taxes for decades. So to me, when I look at numbers, they tell me a story of the actions that are happening, which in my mind raises a million questions. Like, well, wait, why isn't this there? Or why didn't this happen? Or how did we get from here to here? And it's usually those stories and those connections that help others to improve and figure out their business finances and to be able to do it better on their side.
Yeah. Wow. In that brief description there, what really comes through, Rocky, is how passionate you are about numbers. And it's not the numbers, it's like you said, the story that the numbers tell, which is incredibly revealing right there in and of itself. Because I will tell you, I do okay at math. But I'm going to tell you what, when it comes to try to balance my doggone checkbook, I want to pull my hair out.
And honestly, I think most of what we do, it's not about the math. It's about understanding the story of what's going on in the business financially.
Yeah.
And how things are fitting together and what's causing that story. So, one of the things that I've learned is, especially new business owners, they're afraid to charge what they really should be charging. Mm-hmm. And so if they're undercharging, they're going to struggle. Other business owners, they spend too much. They're told, you got to spend money to make money. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe yes, maybe no. Or other business owners think that if they get rich, they'll be evil. Well, if that's the case, how are you going to build a business? That's right? Because every time you get a little bit of money, you struggle. So I think a lot of it isn't just the math, it's the psychology of the business owner behind the math and the decisions that are getting made. And it's bringing all of that together. I think too many people don't look at it holistically.
Mhm.
They're looking at one part of it, but they're not looking at the drivers behind the other parts of it.
Gotcha. Wow. You know what? That is, you know, I, I ain't gonna lie. I have help understanding my books and my business because it's not like you, for me personally, that's not the most enjoyable thing about my business. But what you just described made it infinitely more interesting talking about numbers, you know? And so, so
Well, and they tell a story. And I think that's the biggest part of it is helping the business owner to understand based on what's going on in their business, what's the next step that they can take that will have the biggest impact to help them improve their cash flow and their profitability.
yeah. Yeah.
And also not to blow up. So this is the other side of it that I don't think people realize. Rapidly growing businesses need cash. And
Mhm.
more often than not, a rapidly growing business will run out of cash before it runs out of growth. And if
Mhm.
you run out of cash, it doesn't matter that you're profitable, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so helping people to understand that, see that so that they can grow appropriately and make sure that they don't run out of cash.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so now that we've got a little bit of context set here, we're going to switch gears, and I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of the listeners. Have you ever been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And Rocky, I'm just really excited to hear your story, your experience around this topic, and to give you the opportunity to honor somebody who's had such a profound impact on your life and on your business.
And so I've always struggles not I just couldn't understand why there weren't more millionaires in the United States,
Mhm.
right? We always build wealth, and yet a lot of people struggle with this. And so I was spending a lot of time on the personal finance side, just trying to help people get a little better and to be able to do things. That aha that I told you about, where I didn't understand that business owners weren't looking at their finances,
Mhm.
that came from Mike Michalowicz and
Okay.
from the book Profit First. Someone introduced me to that. And I was like, you got to be kidding. And I think I went on a 2-year journey after that, just talking to people, to business owners, to ask the question, can I walk away from my corporate job and build a business doing this? And will it be viable? And throughout that process, I just kept learning and talking to others. And then I was like, okay, Profit First does XYZ. Is that the best place for me? And so I started looking at other systems, but the more and more I realized it, I was totally in alignment with what they did. As a matter of fact, it's the way I built wealth. So then the question's like, well, do I just do this myself or do I partner with somebody? And I realized, just like you're talking about, in your business, the numbers aren't the part that you love. For me, figuring out and building a system and trying to market it and come up with all the language of how to get out in front of people and do all of that wasn't the part of the business that I love doing. That's the visionary,
Mhm.
right? I'm the integrator. I'm the guy who does that part of it. Mike's a visionary. And so by partnering with Mike and their team and the Profit First team, it allowed me to stay in my lane and do what I loved,
Mm.
but it helped me with the lead gen. It helped me with creating systems that were already popular in the business world. And so I didn't have to create all my own buzz. I could use the visionaries' buzz, their work, put it together with my skill set, and together it allowed me to walk away from a very nice 6-figure corporate job with a ton of perks and build a business that allows me to do what I really love doing and I have fun doing all the time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
from that standpoint, it's been good. I think the second part of what was helpful was being in my mastermind group,
Okay.
because that group of guys, like all the doubts I had for walking away and doing this, they're like, and making those beginner business decisions, they really, I think, helped me, pushed me, and helped me make those choices to be able to make that massive switch in life and to go pursue what I really wanted to do instead of what was good.
Uh-huh.
And I think that was the biggest thing. So I think the two of those together were super helpful. Sometimes you need two parts to lock together
Yeah.
to really
Yeah.
bring it together. And
Very.
I haven't looked back since then. I enjoy what I do. I have fun. The impact it makes on business owners, I'll work with a lot of business owners that have been in business for 10 plus years.
Mhm.
And invariably, 18 months into the relationship, we start celebrating how much cash they have. They start saying things like, I've never had that much cash. I don't know what to do with it. And those are just, it's rewarding to see other people who've struggled with this part of it to finally have success, because each of those business owners is able to now give bonuses to their people, give raises to their people, to be able to go out and serve their clients in the ways that they want, and not be so stressed and freak out all the time of, how am I going to keep this all together and how am I going to keep it going?
Yeah. 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 So after hearing you share what you did, and if we think about this relationship that you and Mike have, and I because I'm really fascinated by this, because when we start looking at, especially if, like, we start looking at some of the relationships in our lives, and even serving the clients that we serve, because of who we choose to serve and who they ultimately serve, the impact of the service we provide or the work we do or what have you can be really big. And I like, looking at this and just digging into this a little bit. So if you look at this relationship with you and Mike, what is, like, what to say, one thing that in your mind really stands out as something big that happened that, hands down, would have never happened if you and Mike had not met or have the relationship that you now have?
I don't know how successful the business would have been,
Okay.
because he already had the strong brand name. He had built the brand, he had built the awareness, he had built the language and systems that resonated with business owners.
Mhm.
And because I had that, it became so much easier to connect with people. Like,
Mhm.
I can go to a business conference and literally all I have to do is put on a Profit First t-shirt and walk around, right? People will come up to me. There's no t-shirt that I could have created without more work and effort that would have caused people to come up to me like that and give me instant credibility
Yeah.
and give me instant ability to break down the barriers and to do business. So it's kind of a stamp of approval, so to speak.
Mhm.
And especially in the beginning, you all have imposter syndrome. You always like, is this real? Can I do this?
Yep.
And I think that, and then also having the back end support. Like, I'm a small business owner. So when I have questions, who do I go to
Yeah.
for clients? And so they've created a whole back end team support that means when I've got questions of how to best serve my clients, I'm not alone. I've got a team of hundreds of people that I can go to get answers on how to better serve my clients.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Hearing you share that, I think back to my very first business that I ever started, which all the way back in 1996. I had worked for 7 years previous to that as a commercial fisherman in Alaska to save up money to start my own business. And I ended up starting a cleaning and restoration company. carpet cleaning, water damage restoration, that kind of thing. And I promptly blew through about $300,000 that first year in business, not having a clue what I was doing. And somewhere along the line, I saw this article in a trade publication for the industry by this guy, Joe Polish, and talking about, I can show you how to get more clients in a month than you currently get all year. And I'm like, well, you know, man, maybe there's something there for me. And after reading the article, it had a little a phone number to call for a free recorded message. And I ordered his report and then ended up investing in his marketing system. And it was like what you just described, Rocky. Joe at that time worked with people in the cleaning and restoration professions. And so he had this whole system that was tailored for service people in that industry. And like I mean, if you just did what he showed you how to do and used the materials that he gave you, like what you said, it's like, oh, there's no way. Or it would, if I ever did figure out how to use this verbiage or put these tools together, if I even ever did do that, it would have taken years to try to figure out. And I certainly wouldn't have done it as good as this guy has. And all I had to do was plug and play and put that into my business. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, this stuff really works.
Well, and I think the other part of it is I realized that wasn't the part that I enjoyed doing.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't want to build all of that. I didn't want to go on 100 stages and run all over the place. Like, that wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So learning to do and stay in the lane that you enjoy and surround yourself with people who fill your other lanes to help you go further faster, which is basically what we're talking about,
yes,
without half the struggles, that's what the relationships do.
Yeah.
Allow you to get ahead much faster and further. And speaking of the two people that you talked about at the beginning that connected us, it's much the same with them. If I need to write a book, like, Paul's going to get me there faster.
That's right. Yeah.
If you want to start a business and you're looking at franchising, Giuseppe's going to prevent you from making silly mistakes. He's going to find what's perfect for you. They're all in their individual spaces, and
that's right.
We all connect, right? All of these things tie together over time. And so I met Paul because of that mastermind group.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you see how it all weaves and ties back together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate having this conversation and with you. And like I said, you definitely did. I mean, that was the most intriguing explanation of numbers that I have ever heard in my life. So kudos to you for that. And so I'm taking that verbiage and the way that you communicate came from as a result of Mike and Profit First and all of that. And I can see why it works, because I'm sitting here going like, I've never heard anybody explain business numbers that way before, but that is intriguing, and I can see why, like, wow, that would. So for anybody that's out there listening to this right now and thinking to themselves, man, Kev, I'm with you. What Rocky said has got me interested. For anybody that's like, that would like to find out more about you or what you do, what are some resources or a website or what have you? Where can they go to find anything out?
Before they come find me, can I ask them to do the favor?
Sure.
So if Kevin brings you valuable information, if he's bringing you connections, would you be so kind as wherever you're listening right now to hit the like button or the love button, leave him a rating, say thank you. If there's someone else that could benefit from listening to him, make that connection for him. Say, hey, you should listen to this podcast because Kevin does an amazing job. If after you've done all of that, you have a minute, I have my own podcast. It's called the Profit Answer Man Podcast. All we do is teach and give away everything that we do for our clients. So check it out.
Nice. Profit Answer Man Podcast. Okay. Very cool. Well, Rocky, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to just have this conversation today and to share from your heart, because we definitely delivered on my goal, which was to, for the listeners, I just, who are also entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs, I just want to inspire them to place an intentional focus on creating more real, meaningful, rewarding, and profitable relationships in their life. Because uh, I can tell you from my experience, as entrepreneurs, relationships are the most valuable asset we got. Everything else stems from that. And any last thing you want to share, Rocky, before we call it a wrap?
You have to be profitable, right? You keep saying that word profitable. A
Yeah,
lot of business owners don't focus on that.
yeah,
So I think the relationships and building your team and building your culture, all these things come together. People help people. And at the end of the day, we can all get wealthy and be profitable,
that's right. And make an impact. So,
make an
well,
impact.
Rocky, once again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Great conversation. Thanks for sharing, Rocky.